The Ravenwood Sanitarium had been a festering wound on the edge of the forgotten town since its abrupt closure in 1958. Dr. Elias Harlan, once hailed as a pioneer in psychiatric treatments, had descended into infamy that fateful night when he slaughtered 37 patients in a rampage of calculated savagery. The official records painted a tidy picture. Harlan had cracked under the relentless pressure of his experimental lobotomies. Those crude ice-pick procedures meant to carve away the demons of the mind. But the whispers among the surviving orderlies told a darker tale, one of patients turning on each other days before Harlan's blade fell. They spoke of an unseen voice slithering through the wards, coaxing the inmates to tear at their own flesh, to gouge eyes and rip throats, all in service to something ancient and insatiable. It wasn't madness that gripped Ravenwood, it was possession. A collective hunger that fed on screams and silence alike. 67 years later, on a moonless autumn night in 2025, for friends drawn by the allure of urban legends and the thrill of forbidden exploration, approached the crumbling edifice. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay, like wet earth mixed with something metallic and foul. Alex, the self-appointed leader with his wiry frame and unshakable bravado, pried open the rusted service gate at precisely 11:47 p.m., the witching hour's edge sharpening their nerves. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness like a surgeon's scalpel, illuminating flakes of peeling paint and vines that twisted like veins across the Rottian bars. Jamie trailed behind, her arms wrapped tightly around her slender torso as if to ward off the chill that seeped not just from the wind but from the building itself, a living, breathing cold that whispered of forgotten agonies. She had always been the sensitive one, plagued by nightmares since childhood, but tonight she pushed them down, convincing herself it was just another adventure. Taylor, the group's comic relief, followed with forced laughter that echoed unnaturally loud in the still night, his jokes about ghosts and ghouls masking the tremor in his voice. He was the skeptic, the one who dismissed hauntings as tricks of the mind, yet his eyes darted nervously to the shadows. Casey brought up the rear, laden with gear, a high-definition camera slung over one shoulder and an EVP recorder in her hand, its red light blinking like a watchful eye. She was the believer, the one who devoured podcasts on the paranormal, driven by a personal quest to capture proof that the dead lingered, their voices echoing from beyond. They slipped through the gate, the metal groaning in protest as if the sanitarium itself were awakening. The lobby swallowed them whole, its vast expanse a cavern of dust-choked air and shattered tile floors that crunched underfoot like brittle bones. Cobwebs draped from the ceiling like funeral shrouds, and the faint drip-drip of water from unseen leaks mimicked a heartbeat too slow to be human. Alex insisted they split up. "It'll make a better story," he said, with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Taylor nodded reluctantly and joined him, heading toward the patient wards where the screams of yesteryear were said to linger. Jamie and Casey veered into the administrative wing, a labyrinth of overturned desks and filing cabinets, spilling their guts of yellowed paper. In the dim glow of their flashlights, Casey rummaged through the chaos, her fingers trembling as she pulled out a folder labeled Subject 47. The pages inside were a nightmare etched in ink, and madness, every margin, every blank space, scarred with the same frantic phrase, scratched repeatedly. "The whisperer wants my voice." The words blurred as if written in blood that had long since dried to rust. Jamie, flipping through adjacent files, uncovered more horrors. Patient logs detailing Harlan's treatments, where he didn't just lobotomize but experimented with vocal cord extractions, claiming to harvest the essence of delirium. The entries grew erratic, Harlan's handwriting devolving into scrawls that spoke of a voice guiding his hand, promising eternal life in exchange for fresh screams. It started subtly for Jamia, murmur rising from beneath the floorboards, too faint to discern words, yet too rhythmic to be mere wind rattling the pipes. It slithered into her ears like smoke, coiling around her thoughts. Casey, ever vigilant, switched on her EVP recorder, its digital display flickering erratically. They listened in silence, the device capturing the anomaly. When she rewound and played it back, a child's voice pierced the static, clear and chilling. "Get out." But it wasn't just the words, it was the way they echoed, layered with other voices, adult, elderly, infantile, all pleading in unison, their tones laced with desperation and malice. Meanwhile, in the east corridor, Alex and Taylor navigated a hallway lined with doors that hung ajar like gaping mouths. The walls here were a canvas of terror, deep gouges from fingernails, forming an immense spiral that twisted inward to a perfect circle, roughly the size of a human mouth stretched in a silent scream. The scratches weren't random, they pulsed with intent, as if the wall itself breathed. Taylor, emboldened by his skepticism, leaned in and pressed his ear to the cold plaster. At first, nothing, then a subtle pressure from the other side, like something soft and insistent pushing back. A whisper followed, not through the air, but directly into his mind, his own name, spoken in his mother's voice, long dead from cancer. He jerked away, heart pounding, but said nothing, chalking it up to imagination. Deeper they ventured, discovering the basement stairs concealed behind a rusted gurney, its wheels caked in grime that resembled dried blood. Descending felt like plunging into an abyss. The air thickened, tasting of iron, formaldehyde, and something sweeter, like rotting fruit. The beam of Alex's flashlight revealed surgical tables arrayed in the center like altars, stained with dark blooms that no amount of time could erase. Shelves groaned under the weight of jars filled with clouded fluid, preserving grotesque trophies. Severed tongues floating like pale worms, eyeballs staring blankly, and in one jar a heart the size of a man's fist, still threaded with black sutures that seemed to twitch in the light. Harlan's precise handwriting labeled it, "Mine," as they stared. The heart contracted once, a slow, deliberate beat that synced with their own pulses, as if awakening to their presence. Back upstairs, Jamie and Casey, nerves frayed, decided to escalate their investigation. They cleared a space on a dusty desk and set up a Ouija board, its surface scarred from previous uses. Their fingers lightly touched the planchette, and it began to move almost immediately, belling WHISPER before either could accuse the other of pushing. Then, with unnatural speed, it spelled their names, JAMIECASEY, over and over, the board vibrating under their hands until a crack split it clean down the middle, like a bone snapping. The room grew colder, the shadows lengthening as if drawn toward them. Jamie gasped, her throat tightening as invisible fingers clamped around her neck, cold, bony digits that dug into her skin without leaving marks. She clawed at the empty air, her nails drawing blood from her own flesh in panic. When the pressure finally released, she tried to scream, but only a hoarse rasp escaped. Her voice was stolen, replaced by a void that echoed with distant laughter. Blood trickled from her ears, warm and sticky, as if something inside her head had burst. Alex and Taylor returned to the administrative wing just in time to witness the aftermath. Jamie slumped against the wall, mute and bleeding, her eyes wide with terror. Casey, hysterical, thrust the files at them, babbling incoherently. Harlan wasn't curing them, she whispered. He was feeding it. He cut out tongues to silence the screams, but he stitched them into something else, an entity born from every tormented soul. It lives in the walls, in the foundations, It hungers for new voices to sustain itself, to grow stronger. As she spoke, the whispers intensified, seeping from the cracks in the plaster, a chorus of murmurs that named their fears. Alex's guilt over a lost sibling, Taylor's hidden addictions, Casey's unresolved grief. Panic set in as they tried to flee. The front doors, once ajar, were now sealed shut from the outside, as if barricaded by unseen hands. The windows revealed not the night sky but solid brick walls that hadn't been there before, trapping them in a shifting maze. The sanitarium was alive, reshaping itself to hold them captive. In desperation, Jamie, her eyes now clouded to a milky white, as if possessed, picked up a rusted scalpel from a nearby tray. She advanced on Taylor with the eerie calm of a sleepwalker, her lips moving soundlessly in incantations. Alex tackled her, the blade slashing his forearm deep to the bone, blood spraying in an arc that painted the floor. Pain exploded through him, but worse was the sensation of something crawling under his skin, whispering promises of relief if he just surrendered his voice. Casey, in a flash of clarity, screamed Harlan's name like a desperate exorcism. But the only response was the whispers swelling into a cacophony inside their skulls, driving needles of agony into their thoughts. Taylor, clutching his side where Jamie had grazed him, remembered the heart and ajar the core of Harlan's madness. Casey recalled a fragmented entry from the files. Fire was Harlan's greatest fear, the one element that could purge the Whisperer. They dragged Jamie downstairs, her bare feet leaving smeared bloody prints on the steps, each one pulsing like a fresh wound. The basement air was thicker now, suffused with a stench of burning flesh even before they acted. The heart in the jar throbbed faster as they approached, its sutures writhing like black worms, as if it recognized them as threats or prey. Alex, arm throbbing, poured lantern fuel over the jar with shaking hands. Taylor struck the match, the flame flickering blue as it ignited. The heart erupted in azure fire, writhing and expanding before shriveling to ash. The whispers coalesced into one interminable screamer, polyphonic wail that shattered the basement windows, raining glass like jagged teeth. Jamie convulsed on the floor, her body arching unnaturally as she vomited a torrent of black, viscous fluid that reeked of decay and echoed with faint, dying voices. Then, collapse. Silence descended like a shroud, so absolute they could hear the frantic tattoo of their own hearts, the drip of blood from Alex's wound, the distant creak of the building settling as if sighing in defeat. They carried Jamie's limp form outside, the doors yielding now as if the spell had broken. Dawn was hours away, but the sky seemed to lighten prematurely, the stars dimming in relief. The gate stood wide open, inviting escape. They fled without a backward glance, the sanitarium receding into the night like a bad dream. 3 nights later, safe in her apartment, Casey uploaded the EVP files to a paranormal forum, her hands still trembling. The recordings captured the chaos, the child's warning, the Ouija's frenzy, the screams, but the final clip, recorded after the heart's immolation, held something new, a single sentence woven from 4 overlapping voices, theirs, distorted and eternal. "We'll wait in the smoke." Ravenwood Sanitarium still looms on the town's outskirts, its gate chained once more. The basement jar vanished into rumor, but hikers who stray too close report eerie phenomena, their own names murmured from within the walls, soft as a lover's breath, patient as eroding stone. Some claim to see wisps of blue smoke curling from the cracks at dusk, carrying faint whispers that beckon them inside. And on windless nights, the air tastes of iron and formaldehyde, a reminder that the Whisperer endures not in flesh, but in the echoes it collects, forever hungry for more voices to join its chorus. Those who listen too long find their throats tightening, their words stolen, and their steps turning inexorably back toward the gate.
Thanks for watching. If there is anything you would like to see, leave it in the comments. I'll see you next time.
I can't wait.